Welcome back. I probably don't have to introduce our guest today. 'Tis the season. Christmas season keeps getting pushed up more and more. Black Friday, typically that Friday following Thanksgiving, has now become that last weekend in October, it seems. Around Halloween time, people are decorating for Christmas. We get caught up in the commercialization. One thing about Christmas that's not commercial is Jolly Old St. Nick, and he's here today to talk a little bit about Christmas and the true reason for the season and all that he enjoys about being who we consider Santa Claus. When we come back, we're going to do just that. We're going to talk to Santa about, we're just going to talk about anything we feel like talking about. We'll be right back. Welcome back. As mentioned, our guest today is Jolly Old St. Nick himself, Santa Claus. Santa, thanks for taking the time to stop today. I understand that you're in frantic mode right now, getting geared up for the holiday, getting geared up for your big night, and we appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today.
Well, we always like stopping by Chipley. Chipley's a fun little town that Santa loves to come visit. And you know, Santa doesn't get to spend that much time up at the North Pole. Right now, we're into the second check of the list already. And you know, I noticed that you mentioned the commercialization of Christmas. But what a lot of folks don't remember and don't know anymore is that traditionally, back in the early days of Christmas, the Christmas season actually started on All Saints' Day, November 1st, and ran all the way through to Candlemas, which is February 2nd.
Wow.
So we actually have a much shorter season now than we did a couple of hundred years ago. So now I'm trying to do all that in a much compressed space. But I have a lot of elves and Mrs. Claus to help me out nowadays.
There are a lot of questions that people would ask you had they the opportunity. And so maybe I'll take that opportunity, with your permission, to what's the best thing about being Santa?
The best thing about being Santa is just that. Being the absolute embodiment of the Christmas spirit. You know, I started out as St. Nicholas, which is Nicholas of Myra, which is an area nowadays we call Turkey, and have developed over the years into what we in the United States now call Santa Claus. I have many names around the world. Santa Claus in the north, Papa Noel in France, Babbo Natale in Italy, Father Christmas in England. And it's such a joy to be this spirit for everyone around the world. When you look at so many different cultures, not just ours here in the United States, but my embodiment is in most of them. Not all, but most. So it keeps me very busy, which I love to be busy. And of course, the best part of the whole thing is I get to be around children. I love the love and joy that children have in their hearts. It just lightens me up and makes my job that much easier.
Children have no filter. They can't be deceptive. They haven't learned to be deceptive yet. They haven't learned to lie. And so if you're going to ask a child a question, you better be ready for the answer.
And, you know, the same goes the other way around. Santa has to be ready because children have some of the darndest questions. You know, how do the reindeer fly? Or where are the reindeer? What does Mrs. Claus do? How did you meet Mrs. Claus? How do you get around the whole world in just one night? And they want answers that they can tell if you're not telling them the truth. They know. So even Santa has to have that same no filter. I've got to be upfront and honest with the kids because they'll know.
How long have you been married?
I have been married most my whole life. Mrs. Claus and I were actually married 42 years ago. But you got to understand, 42 of Santa's years are a whole bunch of your years.
I would imagine so. How old are you?
Well, actually, I was born in the year of 393, which makes me not quite 2,000 years old yet. but I'm getting real close.
You're doing pretty good for that age.
It has to do with Father Time being a very good friend of mine, and I have to keep him happy so that he keeps me looking so good.
What's the most challenging part of having that responsibility, that weight of being Santa Claus?
To be able to communicate the spirit, the love, the hope, the joy of Christmas to people. For most folks, Christmas is a very short season, from Thanksgiving to Christmas. But for me as Santa, it's all year long, every day, that I'm trying to convey that spirit, that love, that joy, the forgiveness of the great gift giver, where it all really started.
And therefore, truly the reason for the season.
And truly the reason for the season. I very much, and I wear a pin right here that says to keep Christ in Christmas. You'll never see Santa use the common abbreviation for Christmas, because I very much want to keep Christ in Christmas. You know, Santa gets asked for some things that Santa just can't give. A lot of children have requests that Santa can't fit into that toy bag. And I tell them, I have a very dear friend that I talk to several times a day. And many times that child and I will have a discussion with my friend right then and there. We'll say a little prayer to try to grant their wish.
When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Santa and explore some of the other reasons for that season. We'll be right back.